Most people carry the quiet ache of disappointment with them, though they rarely speak of it. Dreams once vivid, once certain, fade under the weight of reality. In youth, the heart demands intensity, love that consumes, connection that feels sacred, adventure that leaves the world behind. Every glance, every encounter, seems like it might redefine existence itself. Life feels endless, possibilities infinite, the mind and body in perfect unison with longing. And yet, time is cruel. Responsibility, disillusionment, and compromise slowly settle in, taming the wild pulse of desire, convincing the soul that intensity is dangerous, that wanting too much is foolish, that passion must bend to reason. And still, those dreams do not die. They retreat inward, folding carefully into private corners of memory, guarded, cherished, aching quietly. They whisper in the dark, reminding you of who you once were, what you once imagined love, life, and connection could feel like. They exist as fragments waiting for recognition, waiting for someone to understand them without judgment, waiting for someone who could awaken them fully. This is where the ideal lover comes in. He is not brash, not loud, not demanding. He does not arrive as a savior or a challenge. He is subtler, infinitely more dangerous. He enters the spaces where desire has been muted and coaxed into life, seeing the ache others have overlooked, feeling the pulse that others fail to notice, listening to the silence that masks longing. He senses what has been lost and what has never been surrendered. He knows where the heart still beats hot with fantasy, even when the mind insists on restraint. With the ideal lover, there is no pretense, no performance. Every glance, every gesture, every carefully measured word is a reflection of understanding. He mirrors the fantasies that have been buried or disciplined, but he does so without judgment or intrusion. He does not demand confession. He draws it forth with his presence. The attention he offers is a quiet, magnetic force, pulling memory, desire, and imagination together into something alive. Something dangerous, something intoxicating. In his presence, romance feels inevitable again. The way he lingers in conversation, the deliberate softness of his voice, the weight of his attention, it revives the sense that love can be deliberate, transformative, sacred. He is poetry in motion, not through words alone but through deliberate action. Time feels suspended. Moments are thick with meaning. A simple touch, a brush of skin, a shared smile carries a resonance no ordinary encounter could evoke. He creates spaces where fantasy is not only permitted but celebrated, where desire feels safe enough to grow unchecked, where longing is acknowledged rather than denied. Adventure, too, is woven into his presence. He introduces motion into stillness, making life feel fluid, pliable, filled with possibilities. The mundane shimmers with potential. Ordinary routines become momentary stages for anticipation. He doesn't push toward chaos. He opens doors to experience, letting the mind and body taste novelty, unpredictability, and possibility without fear. Every step with him feels like a journey not toward an end, but deeper into the realm of what the heart knows it has been missing. And when depth is desired, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, he meets it without hesitation. He does not shy from silence, from intimacy, from the unspoken language that binds souls. Connection with him feels almost sacred, a private communion that transcends the superficial interactions of the world. He listens not just with ears but with perception, tuning into the patterns of thought, the tremors of longing, the silent ache for recognition. He knows the right question to ask without ever asking it. He offers understanding without demanding it. Every encounter, every lingering pause, every subtle gesture is calibrated to awaken, to honor, to intensify. He does not give in haste. He allows desire to mature. The ideal lover knows that the tension between restraint and fulfillment sharpens the senses, deepens the heart, and amplifies longing to a point where fantasy and reality blur. Pleasure is not rushed. It is layered with anticipation, recognition, and resonance. And in all of this, he never claims, never confines, never dictates. He is a mirror of the self that has been waiting to be recognized, the reflection of longing that has been quietly ignored, the embodiment of dreams that reality has tried to suppress. With him, desire awakens fully, brilliantly, dangerously, and once awakened, it reshapes everything. The body, the mind, the heart, they all begin to measure life differently. What once felt sufficient no longer is. Mediocrity becomes unbearable. Ordinary interactions feel flat, hollow, unsatisfying. The ideal lover has set a standard that cannot be unlearned. And with that, a question surfaces, unavoidable and insistent. What has been chosen before this moment? And what now feels impossible to accept? The ideal lover understands something most people never consciously grasp. Disappointment does not erase desire, it refines it. What the world calls maturity is often nothing more than a slow surrender, a negotiation between longing and fear. People learn to temper their expectations, to accept less intensity, fewer sparks, quieter passions. They call it realism. But beneath that realism, fantasies sharpen. They become more specific, more personal, more potent. The ideal lover reads these fantasies the way an artist reads a canvas. He does not invent desire. He discovers it. He observes the subtle clues: what excites hesitation, what triggers nostalgia, what lingers unsaid. He senses where the heart tightens, where the breath deepens, where attention drifts when the mind pretends to listen. Every human carries a private mythology of longing, shaped by first loves, unmet promises, imagined futures, and emotional near misses. The ideal lover studies this mythology with reverence. He knows that people are not seduced by beauty alone, nor by words alone, nor even by physical intimacy alone. They are seduced by recognition, by the feeling of being seen, not as they are forced to appear, but as they secretly wish to be. The ideal lover becomes the living embodiment of that wish. He adapts without appearing artificial. His charm feels effortless because it is deeply informed. He shapes himself to the contours of the other's desire, never fully revealing his own center, always remaining slightly out of reach. What makes this power intoxicating is its precision. The ideal lover does not overwhelm. He calibrates. He senses when to lean closer and when to retreat, when to let silence stretch and when to break it with a word weighted with implication. His presence lingers even in absence. Conversations replay themselves later, not because of what was said, but because of what was implied, what was promised without being spoken. Romance, under his influence, stops being a performance and becomes an atmosphere. Candlelight is no longer a prop. It is a signal. A shared glance across a room carries meaning far heavier than physical contact. Touch becomes deliberate, restrained, layered with intention. The ideal lover understands that anticipation is often more powerful than fulfillment. He allows desire to swell until it reshapes perception itself. Those drawn to him begin to feel as though life has shifted subtly off axis. Ordinary interactions grow dull. The mind drifts toward the moments shared with him, the tone of his voice, the way his attention feels like a slow undracing of the soul. He becomes the standard against which all others are measured, and most fail without even knowing why. The ideal lover's greatest strength lies in his ability to elevate experience. He transforms romance into something almost spiritual, where emotional intimacy feels profound, rare, and deeply personal. He does not rush toward possession. He builds toward communion. The connection feels chosen, deliberate, inevitable. He makes love feel like destiny rather than chance. And yet, there is danger in this perfection. The ideal lover thrives in contrast. He shines brightest against a backdrop of disappointment and restraint. He does not promise permanence. He promises intensity. He does not offer stability. He offers meaning. Those who fall under his spell often do not realize what they are sacrificing until they have already tasted something they cannot forget. He leaves behind a wake of longing, not because he betrays, but because he awakens. Once awakened, the heart cannot return to sleep. The fantasies he reflects grow stronger, more insistent. The question shifts from "is this possible?" to "why should I accept anything less?" And in that question lies the true seduction. The ideal lover does not trap, he liberates. But liberation comes at a cost. When illusion is more beautiful than reality, reality begins to feel intolerable. The ideal lover knows this, and he does not apologize for it. His role is not to repair the world, but to reveal what the heart has always wanted from it. What separates the ideal lover from all others is not merely his ability to awaken desire, but his mastery over illusion. He understands that people do not fall in love with reality, they fall in love with meaning. Reality is blunt, inconsistent, compromised. Meaning, however, can be shaped, curated, elevated. The ideal lover becomes a mirror polished so precisely that the one who gazes into it no longer sees him. They see the most beautiful version of themselves reflected back. He listens more than he speaks, but when he speaks, it feels inevitable. His words land with uncanny accuracy, as if drawn directly from unspoken thoughts. This is not coincidence. He studies emotional patterns the way strategists study terrain. He recognizes which dreams were abandoned reluctantly, which loves ended without closure, which hopes still ate quietly beneath composure. From these fragments, he constructs an emotional landscape that feels both intimate and miraculous. To be desired by the ideal lover feels different. It is not raw hunger, nor reckless pursuit. It is devotion without suffocation, attention without demand. He makes desire feel sacred. Each gesture seems intentional, each pause meaningful. Time slows around him. Moments stretch, deepen, thicken with significance. Those under his influence begin to believe that this connection is not merely rare, it is irreplaceable. And yet, beneath the tenderness lies calculation, not cruelty, but control. The ideal lover never loses himself. He never becomes fully visible. Mystery is preserved not through distance alone, but through restraint. He reveals enough to enchant, never enough to be understood completely. This partial visibility keeps fascination alive. The mind fills the gaps with fantasy, and fantasy, once ignited, grows more powerful than truth. Those who fall for him often believe they are choosing freely. In reality, they are being guided. The ideal lover never commands. He suggests. He never insists. He allows. His greatest manipulation is making the other feel sovereign in their desire. They feel seen, cherished, elevated, yet subtly dependent on the way he makes them feel about themselves. This is where illusion becomes dangerous. The ideal lover does not lie outright. He simply edits. He highlights certain traits, downplays others, reshapes context until perception bends. The relationship begins to feel like a refuge from the ordinary world, a space where disappointment does not intrude, where desire is answered with elegance and understanding. But the refuge exists because he maintains it. Without his presence, the spell weakens. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, expectation shifts. Ordinary affection feels clumsy. Honest but imperfect love feels insufficient. The ideal lover has rewritten the emotional standard. The heart begins to crave not connection, but refinement. Not intimacy, but transcendence. This craving is insatiable because it is built on illusion, and illusion cannot sustain permanence. Yet the ideal lover does not collapse under this truth. He anticipates it. He understands that perfection cannot endure indefinitely, not because it is false, but because it is unsustainable. His power lies in timing. He knows when intensity peaks, when longing reaches its most exquisite pitch. And it is there, before familiarity dulls brilliance, that he begins to withdraw. The withdrawal is subtle, a delayed response, a softened presence, a slight cooling of the emotional temperature, enough to awaken anxiety, not enough to provoke confrontation. Those attached begin to chase not him, but the feeling he once evoked so effortlessly. They replay moments, analyze silences, search themselves for flaws. The illusion fractures, but its memory tightens its grip. This is the ideal lover's paradox. He gives people the most beautiful version of love they have ever known, and in doing so, ensures that nothing afterward will ever feel the same. He does not destroy hearts. He refines them to a standard few can meet. He transforms longing into a lifelong reference point. And still, he remains calm, composed, and touched by regret. He never promised permanence. He promised experience. He promised intensity shaped to desire's deepest contours. And he delivered. As the illusion fades, what remains is not bitterness but clarity. Those who have loved the ideal lover emerge changed. They are no longer willing to accept emotional laziness. They have tasted precision, attentiveness, devotion sculpted to fantasy. Whether this awakening leads to fulfillment or perpetual dissatisfaction depends not on him but on what they do with the hunger he leaves behind. The ideal lover does not stay, he prepares. The ideal lover's final seduction is not departure, it is permanence without possession. He does not vanish abruptly like the rake, nor does he cling like those who fear being forgotten. Instead, he dissolves slowly, gracefully, leaving behind an emotional architecture so refined that it continues to shape desire long after his presence fades. He becomes a standard, not a memory, a quiet measure against which all future connections are weighed. By now, those who have been touched by him understand the truth. He was never real in the conventional sense. He was a living projection, a carefully tuned embodiment of what they most deeply longed for. Romance, adventure, understanding, transcendence. He offered not fragments, but cohesion. He made fantasy feel coherent, attainable, almost sustainable. Almost. The ideal lover knows when the illusion has reached its peak. When desire has matured into belief, that moment is dangerous. Belief seeks permanence. Permanence invites exposure. Exposure fractures perfection. So before reality can intrude, before routine dulls brilliance, he reshapes the bond. He becomes slightly distant, not cold, present, but no longer immersive. The spell loosens, but never breaks completely. Those who loved him feel the shift immediately. Something sacred has changed. The intensity remains, but it is no longer fed. They attempt to revive it through conversation, memory, vulnerability, but the ideal lover does not resist or reassure. He allows the realization to surface naturally. The illusion cannot be sustained without him actively maintaining it. And that is his final act of control. He does not argue. He does not defend. He simply lets the fantasy collapse under its own weight, ensuring that it does so gently, beautifully, without resentment. What remains is not devastation, but reverence. He leaves behind gratitude instead of anger, longing instead of bitterness. This is why the ideal lover is never hated. He did not deceive, he revealed. He showed what was possible when attention is deliberate, when desire is studied, when affection is sculpted rather than improvised. He gave a glimpse of emotional excellence, and then stepped away, allowing the other to carry that vision forward. For some, this becomes a curse. They spend their lives searching for echoes of him, mistaking intensity for compatibility, illusion for depth. They chase refinement without understanding its cost. These are the ones who remain trapped by the ideal lover's shadow, forever disappointed by reality's imperfections. But for others, the experience becomes transformative. They learn that fantasy does not have to enslave, it can instruct. They recognize that what they loved was not him, but the way he saw them. The attention, the anticipation, the precision. And once recognized, these qualities can be demanded, cultivated, even created within real connection. This is the ideal lover's final gift, discernment. He teaches that desire flourishes where imagination is honored, where effort is intentional, where romance is not accidental but designed. He elevates expectations not toward impossibility, but toward consciousness, toward choice. And so he exits not dramatically, not tragically, but with elegance, leaving behind hearts that are sharper, standards that are higher, and fantasies that no longer feel naive. The world after him feels flatter at first, quieter, less enchanted, but slowly, something else emerges: agency. The realization that illusion is powerful, yes, but only when wielded with awareness, only when used to enhance reality, not replace it. The ideal lover was never meant to be kept. He was meant to awaken the dream and then return it to its rightful owner.